As a writer trying to finish your book, there have been times in the past when you've worried you'll never finish your manuscript. You go through periods when you're super motivated and you tell yourself you're going to force yourself to write every day until this thing is finally finished. But it's never that easy. You sit down to write only to find yourself pulled into something on the internet, scrolling on Instagram, or the phone rings, or someone knocks on the door. Or you plan for a writing session every day, only have to suddenly deal with picking your kids up from school, or taking an elderly relative for a healthcare appointment, or finishing a report for your day job, or getting some groceries in the house. You know, real life. And if you're like most writers, when you sit down to write, you can sometimes make progress and you get a few pages down. But then other times you're stuck staring at a blinking cursor or the blank page. It's frustrating because it feels like there's no consistency in your writing practice and you're not gaining the momentum that you need to finish. Is that your story? Is that why you're here today? You know you're a writer. You've got a great idea for a book, but finding the consistent focus, motivation, and confidence you need in order to finish writing your book probably sounds like a pipe dream at this point. Or maybe you find yourself writing away, but then you come up against the thought that your writing isn't good enough, or worse, that you're not good enough. And it's hard to keep coming back to the page when those kinds of nasty thoughts are knocking around in your head. Now here's the thing, I don't think there's any worse feeling in the world than knowing deep in your bones that you've got a great idea for a book, but not being able to get the words out of your head and down onto the page in a way that lives up to the brilliant vision of your book in your head. It's no wonder we end up stuck with an unfinished manuscript when that's what's going on. Hey there, writer. I'm Rhonda Douglas, a published and award-winning author, editor, and writing mentor, and I'm the founder of First Book Finish and Resilient Writers. For over a decade now, I've been supporting writers to improve their writing, get their work finished, and out into the world. I've worked with hundreds of writers all over the world. I completed my Master's of Fine Arts and Creative Writing back in 2011, and I've also done another graduate diploma program in writing after I finished my English literature degree. I'm a former literary magazine editor, and I've traditionally published a couple of books in different genres and won some writing awards. But I think what really sets me apart is that I've cracked the code on how to shift my thinking and mindset about the writing process. And I've had a unique opportunity to see how this shift in thinking can work for writers in all genres. I am incredibly passionate about helping other writers finish their books and get them out into the world so that they can connect with their ideal readers. But it wasn't always this way. You see, back in 2008, after my first book was published, I became super conscious of what people might think of me and my writing, and this resulted in a huge case of writer's block, which led to me avoiding my writing sessions, and that, avoiding this thing that I loved so much, eventually led to a case of depression. I was hearing all this writing advice that I should just put my butt in chair and force myself to write no matter what. And there was this unspoken assumption that so-called real writers wrote every single day without fail. And that was really hard for me because I was a single mother at the time. I had a teenager, I was working full-time and going to graduate school at night. And when I did find the time to sit down and write, I felt completely paralyzed by self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I tried everything. I got a coach, I read all the writing craft books, I Googled famous writers and their writing routines, and I even went into therapy. When I started writing my second book, I knew I needed to find a solution. I needed something better. I remember at the time, I even thought about quitting writing for good. I knew I loved writing, and I felt I had good story ideas, but I couldn't finish anything I started. I tried everything. If someone said you should get up and write at 5 a.m., I did it. But most of the ideas either didn't work for me at all, or they sort of helped a little while, but they didn't work for my life and my brain, which had all these negative thoughts about my writing swirling around in it. I tried free writing, I tried Julia Cameron's morning pages, I tried copying out paragraphs written by some of the famous writers I admired. I mean, I tried it all. And it wasn't until I was doing a different master's degree for my day job that I found the answer I was looking for. In my research for my master's thesis, I started going deep into how organizations can foster creativity. And importantly, I discovered how much brain science knows about creativity and human motivation and how we can make the shifts we want to make. It was the furthest thing from creative writing I could think of. I mean, brain science? What? And I also discovered that there was a whole set of scholars in the academic world actually studying how creativity works and what makes it possible for some of the world's greatest authors and artists to produce their work. So naturally, I went super deep into this because I felt like science held some of the answers I was looking for. And what I learned changed everything for me. As writers, we think that the work of writing and finishing a book is all about writing craft. If we just know our characters well enough and understand how to write a scene, how to edit our work, etc. If we understand all of that, then writing a book should be easy. And if it seems hard, then that's a reflection on us as writers. But what we don't realize is that it's equally important, maybe even more important over the long run, to develop the skills we need to manage our creative anxiety as artists. All artists have creative anxiety. It's 100% normal and completely understandable when you think that we're basically creating something amazing out of nothing but the ideas in our head and a few thousand words. In other words, finishing a book is part writing craft and part mindset, or how you think about your writing. And I'd even go as far as to say as that at the drafting stage, it's more like 80% mindset. Up until that point, I honestly thought that writing a book was a case of butt in chair, churning out page after page of brilliant story, and if I couldn't do that consistently, then something was wrong with me, and I obviously wasn't cut out to be a real writer. I would go through these bursts of getting work done, followed by really emotionally difficult periods where I would basically give up. But once I learned some of the tools from the social science of creativity, tools and techniques that are also borne out in brain science, once all that clicked for me, I was able to find the consistent focus and motivation I needed to finish my second book. And I used those tools to finish my next book and the next one. I even finished a book during these past 2 crazy years, and I've taught this approach to hundreds of other writers as well, and they've finished their books now as well. This still blows my mind. 97% of people who say they want to write a book never finish. But using these techniques, 90% of the writers in my programs do finally finish the books they've been struggling with for months or even years. These techniques have changed my writing life and the writing lives of hundreds of my writing students I've taught them to. Students like Maria Rodriguez, who finished her book. She was writing in English, which was her second language. She found a traditional publishing house to publish it, sent me a copy when it came out, and said she's now translating it to publish a Spanish version as well. And Ashley Dobbin-Calkins, who used the launch of her self-published hardcover book to throw a fundraising event for her local dog rescue charity. Melinda Roy finished her first manuscript of poetry and was then accepted into a Master's of Fine Arts program she'd applied to so that she could continue studying writing at an advanced level. Or Carol, who just wrote last week to say she has finished reviewing the proofs for her book. Or Mary, who sent her book off to beta readers last week after struggling to finish her book for literally years. And then there's writers like Kirsty, Karen A., Laura, Joanna, Karen R., writers who finished their novels and are now actively querying agents and publishers right now. It's so exciting for them to finally be at that stage in their writing lives when for months and months and sometimes years, they had struggled to even finish their first draft. And now I want to ask you a question. What would your writing life look like if you finally finished writing the book you've been working on? And how would your writing life change if you learned techniques that could help you not only finish this current book, but all your books to come? And how much more confident would you feel in your writing life if you knew you had the skills and stamina to not only start a book, but to write all the way through to typing those two magic little words, the end? And more importantly, how would this change how you felt about yourself as a writer? I want you to know that these techniques are not just working for me. It's how successful writers are finishing their books and getting them onto bookshelves so that they can reach their ideal readers. It's possible to finish your current book in 90 days or even fewer. And like I said, these techniques will work not just for the book you're working on right now, but for all your future books as well. It's the kind of thing that once you learn it, completely transforms your writing life. And now I want to help you find the consistent focus, confidence, and motivation to finish your books and get them published and out into the world. I believe the world needs your story. We need you to finish your book. I want you to join my 5-day virtual event, Book Finishers Bootcamp. And here's why I'm organizing it. There are just too many writers struggling because they don't understand how to finish a book quickly and be confident that it'll work so they can achieve their writing goals and get their books out into the world. And that's why I want you to join this exclusive bootcamp event. I want to give you my techniques and the framework that I use and my students use to finish our books every single time. This will be your shortcut to getting your book finished and into the hands of your ideal readers. All you have to do is click any of the buttons on this page to be one of the small community of writers who will be joining me in this bootcamp experience. By the end of the virtual bootcamp, you'll walk away with a beautiful blueprint that outlines your plan for how you'll finish your books, a clear and achievable plan that respects your own life circumstances. Along with handing over these finishers tools and techniques, I'll also be hosting personal hot seats, breakout rooms, and Q&A sessions. You'll see the full schedule listed out below. Normally, to work with me as your creativity coach, you'd pay $75 for a 30-minute session. And my coaching clients typically sign up for a few months of these weekly sessions at a cost of over $1,000. To work with me as your developmental editor, I charge almost $3,000. Not only that, but there are programs out there that charge over $4,000 just to help you write one short story. I know you don't need just another pat on the back or a "you've got this" kind of chat. You need proven tools and techniques that you can use immediately to finish your current work in progress in the shortest amount of time possible. It's important to me that this bootcamp is affordable. If you're like most writers, you've probably bought a gorgeous leather-bound journal for more than that and never written a word in it. And that's not all, because I've decided to throw in these additional bonuses. First, you'll get my book finish blueprint. It's a fill-in-the-blank roadmap so that you have total clarity on what to do next to finish your book. This will help you clarify where to focus next, how soon you can finish, and hone in on the essential ingredients you need in order to write a book that works. That way you know exactly how to fit finishing your book into your life and the exact date you'll finally type "the end" on your finished manuscript. And you'll also get a full year of access to the bootcamp training recordings. So all the video, audio files, copies of all the slides, so that you can revisit the key concepts from the training whenever you want. We'll also have a private pop-up Facebook group filled with like-minded writers who all share the same goal of finishing a book. Having a writing community and network of support has been huge for me over the years, and I want you to take full advantage of this when you join the bootcamp. Use the group to connect with other writers and get feedback from me as well as you create your book finish blueprint. Bonus number 4 is a special guide I've created just for this event. It's the Finisher's Guide to Turbocharging Your Writing Time, so that you can potentially double or even triple your writing speed and finish your book that much faster. These are the methods that I use to shave weeks or even months off of my drafting and revision time. You're going to come back to this guide time and time again as you write your books. This guide alone could be the difference between dragging out your book over years so that it feels like a complete slog versus getting a draft down in mere weeks so that you can get on with the fun of revising. If you've ever struggled with gaining momentum in your page count, then this bonus is going to help you save a lot of time and effort. And it's free once your seat is reserved. I have one more bonus for you, and it's going to save you so much time and potential frustration. During the training, we'll talk about the essential book outline. Fundamentals you must have in place to be confident you're writing a book that works. And I'll also give you a PDF guide that walks you through the essential book outline step by step, so that you know the principles behind each part of your outline and why it's critical to help you write a book that works, even at the first draft stage. I mean, you could just wing it, right? But then you can end up feeling super frustrated at the revision stage, wondering how to take your messy first draft and make it really compelling for the reader. Well, what if you could have the fundamentals of this all sorted out from the early draft stages? There's totally a way, and I'll break it down into clear and simple steps for you in this PDF guide. All of these bonuses are yours for free when you secure your spot in the bootcamp. Use them as extra motivation and fuel as you finally finish your book. Best of all, this program comes with my 10x guarantee. I believe in these techniques and my framework so much that I 100% guarantee you will love this bootcamp. If after the end of day one, you don't feel that you've received 10 times the value of your $27 investment, so that's $270 in coaching support and writing techniques to help you finish your book, I will happily refund your investment in full, no questions asked. Does that sound fair? Great. So now all you've got to do is click any of the buttons on this page to join now for just $27. Full transparency, I want to give everyone who joins my full attention. So seats in this bootcamp are limited and it will sell out fast. Not only that, but I don't know how long it will be until I run the next Book Finishers Bootcamp. So if you need to finally finish your book in as little time as possible, this is your chance. Just click the button to join and I'll see you in the bootcamp.